Hello and welcome back to the Villa Filler podcast. I'm here as always, my good friend Dan Wiseman. Dan, Aston Villa 4, Everton 0. Didn't think it was going to be that convincing, really. I thought we were going to put a bit much more of a tougher fight, but here we are, mate. An absolutely fantastic afternoon, despite the Lionesses not bringing football home. Be rude not to acknowledge their phenomenal achievements that they've accomplished this summer. Just getting that far, absolutely amazing. Just a shame that the girls couldn't get it done. But I mean, it was all soon forgotten, mate, because what an afternoon that Unai Emery and Aston Villa put on for us at Villa Park this afternoon, mate.
No, absolutely, mate. We spoke a little bit in the preview, didn't we, about how a big win could go and put everything right. And I think they've done that, really. Obviously, it's one where, there's still some little things I think we need to address, but at the very least, like putting that goal difference back to 0, I think in terms of like putting everything right and making sure that it really did feel like we left the first game week in the past, making sure that, 3 points on the board, goal difference is back at 0. I think that's really, really important, to be honest with you, because, if that -1 or a -2 was still hanging over our heads in that tally, it would have dragged down for a week or so. But yeah, I think putting that back to neutral is probably a quite underrated aspect of today's events.
It is, mate. And I think what's important as well is players stepping up today. And we spoke about just the inconsistencies of Leon Bailey, and we questioned where Luca Dean's head would be, and I don't think it was anywhere but getting 3 points today. He was absolutely fantastic, I thought, Luca Dean, and Leon had a great game, and it just infuriates me. This is just a personal gripe, mate. So many people around me, every time Leon does anything, it's like get rid of him. He's shit. He's this. He's that. Literally, mate. When he was about to skin Ash to set up McGinn for the first goal, he takes the touch in, he takes the touch out, and just as he took the touch out away from Ash, right? Because Ash, if you watch the replay, Ash goes to go in with his trailing leg because he thinks Leon's coming back inside, doesn't he? Leon takes him back outside, and the moment he does that, and obviously he leaves Ash for dust, there was a guy behind it goes, "Oh, for fuck's sake, Leon!" And I'm thinking, hang on, he's just beaten the man. And then obviously John McGinn arrives and scores, and I've sort of looked around, and he's obviously shut up pretty quickly, that guy. But I just don't like. He's not even had a chance to finish the move. And to be fair, the first sort of 10 minutes, Leon's passing was going absolutely AWOL. But after that, after he managed to get his assist and obviously get his goal as well, it felt like everything he touched just turned to gold, mate.
It's we can probably start to. There's a genuine conversation to be had, I think, around Leon, in that he's quite good at Villa Park.
Yeah, at Villa Park specifically.
Yeah, the complete contrary on the road. But I mean, like it or not, a goal and an assist today. It's he's always seems more confident. You think about all of his big Villa moments: the goal against Everton, the goal against City, the goals against Brentford, the assist today. It just like, this is not me saying that it's been great and everything like that, but at Villa Park, if I don't have the numbers to hand, but I imagine if you kind of looked it up, probably wouldn't look all too bad. And I think that's a really interesting kind of school of thought. And I think if it is a kind of confidence issue with Leon, that kind of explains why maybe when we go away from home, it's not as good for him. But yeah, I think at Villa Park, Leon's always good value for an assist, like those cutbacks and creating those kinds of opportunities. We've seen that quite a lot. And so, yeah, I thought that would be an interesting thing to kind of raise, because I can't take. I actually saw it on Twitter. Actually, someone was sort of starting that conversation, and it got me thinking. And yeah, maybe they're kind of onto something there.
I don't think he's scored in the league away from home. I'm fairly confident in saying all of his Premier League goals have been scored at Villa Park. So I think you're onto something there, and I think confidence is key. And it's the same with Felipe Coutinho. I'm sure we'll come on to him later. Obviously, both left the field sort of devastatingly with injuries, which is the only major negative for me, leaving this game is Phil's come on. He's had like 10 minutes. He's been pushed in the back, and now it looks like he's done his knee again. And Leon as well kind of left the field a bit. Everything kind of felt up in the air really, because the sub was already getting made, wasn't it? And then Leon's sort of off the field and stuff, which obviously you don't want to see, especially after a performance like that. And all of a sudden, then you've got some serious squad depth issues, because we're still missing Moreno, we're still missing Jacob Ramsey. Emi Buendia is out with injury. Obviously, Tyrone Mings. Leander Dendoncker, where's he? Is he injured? He must be, because he's just not around. There's always something with Leander. There was a childbirth that kept him away from pre-season. Like, he injured his hand randomly at home. Weird. We're looking really light on numbers. And then, to receive a text from you, mate, as I was leaving, being like, oh, and by the way, Philigine's on his way to Hull.
Yeah.
Aaron Ramsey's also going. Talking Sheffield United haggling us over 20 mil for Cam Archer. The window shuts in 11 days. And it's like, I'm confident we'll get bodies in, but there's potentially this really weird period where we're going to play about 4 games in the next 12 days. And there's like 4 outgoings on the cards. Obviously, Zaniolo's come in, groin injury, work permit injury, obviously meant he didn't play today. Looks like Acuna is advancing as well, but there's like this really weird, like we're heading up to Edinburgh on Wednesday, and we could potentially be losing another 3 squad members before then. It's kind of, I'm not concerned about it. I guess I am concerned about it, but I'm not thinking this is the end of the world. But it's like, oh, okay, well, and I'm sure we'll get things lined up, but obviously the injuries just don't help with that concern, really, I guess.
Well, this is kind of where I have 2 cents on this, in that, like, I was speaking to someone today, and like, I know it's not strictly related to the Everton game, but I was speaking to my brother actually, and he was like, yeah, but like, he was like, it'd be interesting if we can get, Hibs all tied up in the first leg and come back to Villa Park. It'd be interesting to see, if we can put out a kind of second string lineup and give some of the other guys a chance and see what that looks like. And I was like, but what second string lineup?
Yeah.
Well, who is there? Like, you saw the bench today. Again, it's back to goalkeepers, and I know there's so many injuries that we have out at the moment. You look at Moreno and Mings and Buendia and JJ and Leander and all those kind of guys. But it does confuse me a little bit when, it's like, Villa are in the market for a striker, but we're pushing Cam Archer out the door, and it's like, Villa are we're looking for another wide man, and we're pushing JPB out the door. And it's the same with, like, we brought in Zaniolo, but Ramsey's been pushed towards the door. And like, look, I'm not saying that these guys can offer the same quality as the people that we're bringing in, nowhere near, but when we still have what looks like so much business to do, and the majority of the business looks like bulking out this squad, just sending out the guys that I think can offer that. I really do. I think particularly like in the Conference League, I think when, for the group stage games, when we are going to be playing, lesser standard opposition, should we qualify, than when we get to the knockouts. You've got another transfer window coming in January, which we did 2 decent sized deals in last year in Raynham and John Duran. We know that we can find value in that market. I don't understand this kind of mass exodus. I don't understand why, like, where's Tim Uragbunam? Like, I
think he's injured. I think Tim's injured.
He is.
But like, I know what you're saying. Like, why would we get rid of 4 more than competent squad players with big points to prove? Obviously, Cam and Tim coming off relatively successful loans on different levels, sort of last season. It's strange, isn't it, mate?
Well, I know it's financial, right? It's pure profit. It's FFP and all this kind of stuff. But and I understand how all that works. But our net outlay isn't crazy. Tielemans is. We've not spent ridiculous amounts. I understand if we were a club that was kind of constantly looking over our shoulder, but the business, that I'm not an expert on this sort of thing, I won't lie, but it doesn't feel like we're putting anything crazy on the line here. And sort of to go, okay, yeah, we're going to get rid of those guys. Like Digne, I kind of get because he's running on like 150 grand a week or something like that. That's not great. But yeah, like for these guys, you're bringing in people who are going to be on much more per week than the guys that we're getting rid of. They've got burning points to prove. Yeah, it always just is a little bit confusing, and that's why I think when you look at the guys that are coming off the bench today, the bench didn't look great. Neither bench looked great today. And the guys that were out there today can do the business. They showed that. But yeah, it will be interesting when we like go to Hibs and stuff like that, like what the kind of lineup looks like, because it doesn't really feel like there is that rotation option at the moment.
Yeah, it's and I think what one point I did want to touch on was the fact that John Duran gets subbed on before Cam. Like writing feels on the wall there, doesn't it? Really.
Yep,
Like
totally.
Duran hasn't had a pre-season. He's literally his first minutes today. He's come back, scored a really nice goal. I thought his touch was quite heavy, and if Pickford wasn't carrying that little knock, I think he probably would have got there after his little knockdown that he did. But nevertheless, really tidy finish, and obviously huge. Like, love to see John Duran be successful. So I'm absolutely buzzing that he scored. But Cam obviously came on as a replacement for Phil, who gets injured. Doesn't really seem to. I don't like, people won't like this, but like anybody who listens to the podcast knows how much I adore Cam Archer, and I think he is like the bee's knees and like the next great thing to come out of Aston Villa. But we just don't play to his strengths. Like there was a moment I didn't even notice it. My dad said, Cam, he came deep to lose Tarkovsky, then spun out, had space, and Tillemans just didn't pass to him. And you'd think of anyone on the pitch, that's the kind of pass that Yuri would make and pick him out. But we're clearly not playing that way. And Cam is somebody who's very there's an economy to his movement. He doesn't press, he doesn't run like Ollie Watkins does. He manages to find space really creatively. It's something natural that he has. He just sort of floats about. He doesn't lead presses. He doesn't charge on the front foot. He's not hounding down defenders. And I just don't know whether Cam Archer, his style of play currently suits how we want to play. I think he's more than capable of playing in that second striker role. But you look at someone like Moussa Diaby today, who just doesn't stop running and like is just relentless, and then gets himself in fantastic positions. Pickford denies him with a really lucky save, like that volley, almost a carbon copy of his goal against Newcastle. I really want Cam to be a success at Villa, and I do believe wherever he goes, he will be absolutely phenomenal. But like that spread, like that little movement that I just described there, that is Cam Archer to a T, and we didn't look to pick him out. So that's quite concerning, really, if you are Cam, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, I totally understand it, and yeah, like that John Duran. There's one person in like associated with Villa that hasn't enjoyed seeing that goal, and his name's Cameron Parcher.
Yeah,
I'm dead happy for John Duran and everything like that. But yeah, you make a good point, mate. You make a good point, and this is where I think it'd be a really interesting sort of end to the window, because given like we have some pretty big business to do, and we need it pretty quickly because that bench does look a little light. But the main thing is that we're sort of sat here today talking after a win. The guys, I think generally that have come in look really good. I thought Pau Torres looked great today. I was really, really impressed by kind of what he offered in a full debut. And I know Everton don't possess a lot of attacking strengths going forward, but encouraging, definitely. And I think he's probably someone that I think would benefit from playing these games against Hibs, where you can just get more minutes in amongst that back line. You learn people's tendencies, you learn your partners and everything like that. I thought Powell was good. I thought Diaby was again excellent. Such a live wire. Looks exactly like, almost everything you hoped he would be, like a supercharged version of what we'd seen. There is no kind of, doesn't seem to be any kind of transition period, and he's so unlucky. It's a great save. It is the loudest Villa Park was in the first half, I'm convinced, when like that post, like it felt like everybody was just willing that in. But that it was a real shame for him. It's a great save. Pickford, who I didn't think had a very good game, to be honest with you. Dougie, I thought was great. Like, yeah, just McGinn. I mean, what do you even say about sort of John these days? But yeah, particularly the new boys that have come in, I was really impressed by all of their performances, really. And then yeah, I'm happy for John Duran, and even with the Cam Archer thing and everything like that, I think the longer that he dragged on with this drought, and it kind of went on and on and on, and it's easy to forget how much we did spend on John. Yeah. It was like 22, 23 million or something like that. So it's a lot of money we put on the line for this guy, and so yeah, happy that he has that goal. And it's really interesting that, like, I would have said dead cert he was in line for a loan move, and like, even judging by his socials, perhaps even he did. Like, we was putting those things up of him like jetting off to Barcelona with like egg timers and pens and everything like that. And so, like, with Espanyol being in the Segunda this season, I was like, oh, like, great loan move, like that makes total sense. But that obviously hasn't ended up happening. So yeah, really interesting to happen. But yeah, on the whole, I thought all of the new boys were really good value for. I thought they all contributed massively to the win as well.
Diego as well, mate. I mean, a moment for him. Just absolute unit, mate. He's so big. His shoulders, wow. Like, but there was an instance where a ball play was through, and he's like literally he's gone past Diego, and all he's sort of done is pivoted to turn round, and he's managed to somehow get his foot on a ball and sort of throw more play off balance in a way that I don't think Tyrone would have even been capable of. I mean, we've seen what's happened when, like, high lines have been penetrated with Tyrone and Esri, but like, all Diego did was just sort of pivot 180 degrees and managed to somehow win the ball. He must have magnets in his boots, but he was absolutely brilliant, and it's good to see. And I do think that Diego probably starts against Hibs, just based off the sort of minutes he's been getting. I think they're probably good minutes for him to get in the bank. And I mean, this is probably a conversation for the Hibs preview, but I think we will see a couple of the fringe guys potentially start. Esri looked quite tired. Kashi looked really tired. And I feel like it's going to be a big ask for a few of the guys specifically to go and play 90 minutes there, and then you've got 90 minutes away. Burnley in it on a Sunday, or the Saturday even, I think. No, it's the Sunday. Yeah, it's the Sunday. So I think there will be some rotation in that game, but we're really good. You're right, mate. Dougie, fantastic. Booba felt like he was getting back to his best. Great penalty from Dougie as well. I thought it was going to be a bit of mind games, obviously. Am I making it up, or did Ollie Watkins miss a penalty against Newcastle? Am I making this up? No. I genuinely can't remember. I've got it in my head that we had a penalty against Newcastle that Ollie Watkins missed, but I could be wrong. But obviously, Ollie Watkins' penalty record isn't the best in any case. But when Dougie stepped up, I was like, oh, he's just doing what Ash did last season and sort of taking the pressure off Ollie. But then Dougie took the penalty, and it was a fantastic penalty. And obviously, Ollie, 2 assists now in consecutive games against Newcastle in this game. Looked frustrated when he came off, and I think he would have been happy with for John to get his goal as well. But Ollie's someone who really does sort of thrive on confidence, as all strikers do, and hopefully, I think the substitution was really with Wednesday in mind, wasn't it, mate? And the sort of the fact that we're going to Easter Road, and you would imagine that Ollie Watkins will, score his first goal of the official season, hopefully, in the Conference League, wouldn't you?
Yeah, no, 100%. Ollie's a kind of interesting one. It's one where, at this point, I think he's shown more than enough that he deserves our undivided support. He will be Aston Villa's number 9 this season. I don't think we're going to be able to orchestrate a deal for anybody that immediately comes in and usurps him within the 11 days that we have left of a window, because if they are to do that, they're going to have to be a very, very good striker, and I don't think that name is on the market right now. So he's going to be Villa's number 9. He needs to, I just think that it's easy to kind of forget that, he got the assist for Diaby's goal game. I know that he came in, but he's off the mark in terms of goal contributions already this season. Wins the penalty, which Dougie then home, and I know that his all-round game wasn't quite there today, but and you're going to be frustrated coming off because we've won 4-0, and any striker that hasn't scored in a 4-0 home win when they've had opportunities to do so is going to come off feeling frustrated. I think it would be odd almost if he didn't. If he walked off and he was beaming dead chuffed with how he played, I think we'd all be going like, hang on a minute, like,
what you do?
You know what I mean? And so, yeah, no, it's good to see. It's good to see. It's what we want, and we need him to go and score away against Hibs and put that game to bed, and then gives himself a chance to have a rest the following week.
Yeah, absolutely, mate, absolutely. And I think what's impressive is, as you mentioned at the top, mate, the fact that we got 4 goals here. I think that is really important. Like we said last week, didn't we? Like, this is all forgotten if we go and blow Everton out of the water. And it's really funny. Did you see James Tarkowski's post-match interview? Did you see what he said about the performance? He was like, they asked him, like what, how are you like you use this to improve and that. And he basically goes, well, this lot got battered 5-1 last week, and they've just beat us 4-0, so that should give us hope. And I just thought that's a really funny backhanded compliment. But I mean, he's not wrong. Like, Everton were impressive last week. They should have won, but they didn't. And it looked like a completely different side today, mate. It almost felt, I won't say too easy, because there was a spell of sort of 10 minutes where Everton really had a foothold and were pressing us, but they just couldn't maintain that. And I think conceding the first 2 goals as quickly as they did, and as maybe controversially as well with the handball and the penalty, not the like I don't know if I've don't think I've seen that back, the Diaby handball in the build-up, but obviously they deemed it was his hand was in a natural position. It weren't even looked at in the build-up, but Everton fans will feel pretty aggrieved about that. But I mean, that's the game, and they'll get a couple of decisions that end up going their way. One thing that did bug me though, mate, they've made a big deal about players needing to get off the pitch to receive treatment. That didn't happen at all today.
Yeah, it's an odd one. I just don't know how.
They don't know the rules.
Yeah, there's so much going on there from an officiating standpoint that it feels a little bit confusing right now. And there's already been so, like, to sort of speak about the handball, there's already been so many instances like watching Match of the Day where the commentators are like, last season that's a penalty, but this season probably not. And it's like, wait, like, have I completely, like, what are we talking about? Yeah. It's all, there's so many rule changes every season, and I don't like the whole added time things, but that's a whole, like, another topic for a different podcast.
Yeah, I mean, there's 15 minutes added time in total over 2 halves.
Who needs that? Like, Everton fans don't want it. Like, fans have got things to travel. We've got a game on, like, we've got to get up to Scotland. Like, who needs to be playing like 15 minutes extra time? I understand the problem that they're trying to address, but I don't know. I'm not paid enough to take on these things.
They're like, every time they try to solve problems, you just feel like they're creating more. But
yeah,
again, as you say, we're not paid enough to fix them problems. That Howard Webb piece on Friday Night Football was just, when you look back at that, like, after 2 game weeks have passed, and the decisions that have happened, not just in our games but in other games, you just kind of have to laugh, really, don't you? Like, they got it so wrong, and it's so classic Howard Webb, isn't it? Like, he has to be the center of attention, and I don't mind him. Like, I mean, obviously, like, all of the penalties and extra time and stuff he's given to Manchester United over the years is obviously frustrating as hell. But I don't mind listening to Howard Webb speak about refereeing, but it's just, it's almost impossible to take it seriously after the first 2 game weeks, where they made such a big deal of it as well.
Mate, it's crazy as well. You had that amazing insight last season where that you listened to the VAR conversations ref were having, like, during the game, and then it's like, for me, I'm just like, they've gone, oh, here's what we could do. in the broadcast to clear everything up for fans. But we're just going to do it at the very end of the season, once all the incidents have happened throughout the season, and show you what happened when we made those decisions 6 months later. It's like, well, what fucking use is that? It's like, it's great that you can show us this, but like, it's just like, and like during the Women's World Cup, like they've seemingly had this like big thing where they've let the referees come after the VAR decision and speak to the stadium and explain their decision. It's like, that's not the bit that we need explaining. We know what you're doing. You've got hand signals which tell us you either go like that, and then no, or like offside, or like whatever. We all know what those hand decisions are, but now you just put these referees in a position where, in a lot of the time in the World Cup, they're in a second language, speaking to a stadium of 20, 30,000 people. Like, it's just like, what we do? This isn't the bit that needs sorting out. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. You know, like me, I never like talking about refereeing performances at the best of times. But you make a very good point. It feels like whack-a-mole at the moment. And I've
That's a good way of putting it.
It feels like that, mate. But yeah, there's a lot going on the Villa front. I've just seen, I know we've got like hardly any time left on this Zoom recording, but the Mail are just reporting that Leon Bailey's being investigated by the police after a fan has accused him of assaulting him after the game. And it looks like Luca Dean is off to Nice, according to Fabrizio. So it's all systems go.
Yeah. What a bombshell to end this podcast on, mate. Luca Dean on his way to Nice, and Leon Bailey's in police custody.
On his way to
hell. Oh, mate, that's not what we need. That's not what we need. I mean, and especially with Leon's little jet ski incident in Mallorca as well. This is, oh my God. The less said on that, the better, I think. But guys, let us know your thoughts on this performance in the comment section down below. If you've made it this far, hit a like. If you're not already, make sure you subscribe. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, follow, like, favorite, save, download the episodes. That way you'll never miss an episode of the Villa podcast. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe, and up the Villa.